If past historical buildings are the windows to our heritage, are we listening? If today's construction signifies our future, what are we hearing? If our walls could speak, what would they be saying? In this brand new 6-part series that looks into the inspirational work of architecture in Singapore, listen to the stories from the buildings that surround us, journey through designs from our old and new landscapes, and be enriched by our heritage and our ever-changing future. If our walls could speak, they would tell of Singapore's progress since the early 70s and how high-density living became part and parcel of our lives today after public housing paved the way for high-density living in Singapore. The private sector brought about surprising innovations to the field. In the commercial realm of private housing, opportunities arose for the architects to find more grounds for creative development and even experimentation. Mr. Tan Cheong Siong is none other than the principal architect of Pearlbank Apartments, a bold pioneer for high-rise, high-density living even till today. This man had played such an important part in the history of Singapore's private residential architecture. Standing in towering isolation on Pearl's Hill, the apartment is a 38-story condominium. 10 vertical walls rise through the entire height of the building, making it the tallest residential block in Asia back then in the late 70s.
Pearlbank came about as a bombshell to us, It's something that we never expected because at that time Singapore was pre-condominium time and we only had shop houses and nice-story apartments, walk-up apartments. And being a rebel type of character myself, I just imagined something crazy like that. We thought we would never get it approved by the government. But fortunately, even the developer saw the potential. So we were fortunate that Pearlbank came about. The idea, much like Le Corbusier, the French master architect, suggested, that we all should live in high buildings in crowded cities so that we can get plenty of air, plenty of light, and plenty of views. So it is what we conceive as correct. And I think it predicted the 21st century. Newspapers at that time wrote about people being blown away in a typhoon, or dinners get eaten up by something that flies in, or something like that. So there were much resistance. And the biggest resistance were the bankers. They would not finance the building. So it was fortunate that we crossed those difficulties.
Many challenges were surmounted with striking solutions, foremost of which is the horseshoe shape of the block. Kitchens and fire escape staircases are clustered around the inner ring of the horseshoe. This forms the rear-end public area, partially concealed to the external view and oriented towards the west.
Every building has two sides, the front side and the back side. Usually people neglect the back side. Not supposed to show people. But in Pearlbank it's different. It is where people congregate, people come. And the horseshoe gave us that possible contact space. The horseshoe shape also performed another function. It performed the function of handling the fierce afternoon sun.
Living rooms and bedrooms were put on the outer ring of the horseshoe. They form the front-end private zones facing the east and enjoying a superb view of the central district, as well as Pearl's Hill Park below. Coherent form belies how 272 units of different sizes are stacked and interlocked together. Each apartment is a logical complex of domestic spaces on multiple levels, which lends drama and depth to its layout. The different levels also zone out each unit into private and public areas.
The split level idea gave us the inspiration that we could have fluid, flowing spaces that is three-dimensional, is more volumic. En bloc came as a surprise, of course, to many people. I think it's a bad thing if by a sheer, mere vote, a special building can be just knocked down for profit. I think that's a shame. The kind of thing that makes people wonder whether it's worthwhile to really spend time to do good buildings. Yes, I believe modern cities should have super high-rise. And we don't have to crowd ourselves on the ground anymore. We must go high, free as the birds, enjoy the views. And of course, natural ventilation. Design for city is definitely the need for the future. If you don't have good design, cities will not be able to renew itself. It won't be sustainable without creative design. We were talking about 1 million population. It's a frightening figure 40, 50 years ago. But now we are talking about 5 million, 6 million. So these have to be solved. And I sincerely believe that high density, high rise can give the answer because we have the technology to build it better, to provide more ecological solutions.
Amidst the hustle and bustle of the city, if our walls could speak, they would tell of the everyday tropical heat and the space constraint. But most importantly, the landscape that our garden city provides for high-density residential living. Walking about Singapore today, almost every corner within our limited land space is being well utilized by both high-rise and high-density commercial and residential structures. Imagine a people who know life primarily as living in confined space at high levels, with little contact with nature and the ground. Will there be sufficient social integration and harmony? If not, how can our architectural solutions evolve in the future to ensure quality of life? Or do we need to find alternative solutions? For Singapore, the air-conditioned nation, perhaps the integration of tropical solutions with sustainable designs is the answer. We hope these answers and more can be found in the architectural solutions in the not-so-far future.